So you want to falsely accuse me of touching your kid, huh? Let's dance. Background. I work in social work with individuals with intellectual disabilities. Part of that work involves working with children who have mental health issues, CMH. I'm currently the only male staff in the area who's qualified to work with kids because it requires a ton of special training. The cast. Me, a 25-year newbie to social work. Back, brat kid, a decent kid with some brat-like tendencies, and one awful ass mother. BM, brat's mom, bitch mom, or piece of literal, non-figurative shit, take your pick. DW, Daniel fucking Webster, the greatest lawyer who ever lived, reincarnated into a local defense attorney. With that all said, let's get down to business. Exposition, time to do the adult thing. In 2012, I moved out of my parents' home and back to the town where I went to college, having taken a job at a local social workplace. It's a great place. Has its issues much like any similar business, see my other posts, but at the end of the day, their heart is in the right place. One of my duties early on was to work with 3 kids, back and 2 others, in a neighboring town, 15 meters away or so. Each Wednesday 3 male staff would all go over and hang out with kids. It went well. Each kid pack bonded with a different member of the party, and we made great strides with them. The kid who pack bonded with me was of course back. Most of their issues involved behavioral stuff, so we had to stop them from picking on each other. Mostly though, we played Minecraft and Roblox. Yeah, I got paid for that. It was the best, and it went on for about 6 months or so till school got out in May of 2013. When summer went by, Back was out of the party cause he had other stuff to do. Camp stuff, I assume. Anyway, summer gets out, and Back is back with the group. Now, as I was prepping to work with him again, I'd heard around the office his mom was quite a pill. Now, we live in a tiny little conservative community, and unfortunately the populace is a bit racist. The woman's Hispanic, and I'd noticed a trend that any Hispanic parents were often disparaged in the office, so I didn't think much of it. Rising action, why the hell didn't I see this coming? My first time back with the kid, we decided to go swimming. Now, we'd done this before, usually with 2 staff, but the kids aren't that much of a handful, so I took the shift on my own. NBD, right? Anyway, swimming goes well, but when we are getting out of the pool and in the locker room, I get dressed on my own, then come out to find Back just standing there, naked as the day he was born. I encourage him to get dressed, and he says no. Again, while avoiding any eye contact whatsoever. Hey, that ceiling tile is interesting af. Yeah, I know. I tell him again he needs to get dressed. Back says if you don't let me do what I want, I'll say you touched me. Excuse me, what the fuck? I play it off as NBD, telling him well then I won't be able to work with you anymore. He apologizes. I get back to the office and say hey BTW, this kid threatened to say I touched him. Boss and I make a note of it, and we both agree he had to have heard it somewhere. As the fall goes on, kids having trouble in school. Mom behind the scenes is apparently trying to convince people that one of the other kids at group is touching him. I don't put 2 and 2 together, but definition stand up for the other kiddo. He's very into women and thinks boys are Reiki. Back, on the other hand, is about as touchy-feely as Liberace in a penis factory. I note this all in doc of course. Mom continues asking me to work with him one-on-one. Again, no connection made. Sweet, more money. I do it. Documenting thoroughly of course anytime he does weird shit, which is increasingly often. It's all going pretty well. Then comes my Tifu moment. Climactic moment. This is theater lingo, not 6, you damn perverts. So once a month, we do a kids overnight at a neighboring town. We go to a hotel, swim, play vidaya, and so on. Come off, boss is encouraging me to let some of the kids I work with go along, so I tell parents. Only BM is really interested, so Back goes with. All goes well, till bedtime anyway. At this point, Back snags the big bed that's usually reserved for 2 kids. I have to stay in the room with him, so I get a blow up mattress ready. Then the little shit asks me to use the bed too. Excuse me, what the fuck? We of course have separate beds, but it really didn't matter in the end. On January 2nd, it happened. BM made a formal accusation. She went down the line saying I did everything in the book at every location we'd ever visited on our outings. Diddled him in the library, diddled him at the park, diddled him in the hotel room, with vivid account of penetration for good measure. Now, this is the point in the story where BM's job becomes incredibly important. See, she works at Department of Human Services. ACA, the place in my state that hands out food stamps, welfare checks, and accusations of child abuse. She's just a food stamp pusher, but she likes to use discrimination as a battle cry anything doesn't go her way. And so despite no evidence, she forced the issue. DHS makes a formal 30-day analysis, and when it's all done, guess what? I'm cleared. End of story, right? Nah bro. Mom appeals, without my knowledge, and adds an hour-long doll therapist session into the evidence, without my knowledge. The case goes from unfounded to confirmed, founded, and placed, without my knowledge. March 28, 2014. Suddenly I no longer have a job, and can't work in my chosen field for 10 years. Excuse me, what the fuck? Falling action, enter Daniel fucking Webster. So up until now it's probably not been super clear why mom's pulling this shit. Thing is, she's out of home, because she's out of money, and she wants to sue my place of employment, to get a new home. Currently they are living in a donation house that's set to be demolished. I find out this, and other facts during my investigation period. At this point revenge isn't on the mind. I just want to get out of the hellhole I've been thrown into. First thing I do, is start asking around town. Lady has a rep, after all. I talked to the cop who refused to arrest me due to no actual evidence, and he says she's been pulling shit with him for years. For example, he's trying to get the library director arrested for refusing to cancel her overdue fine. Discrimination, of course. We talk for some time, and he ends it with, well, maybe I'll start telling her no a bit more. I then head over to the library, and sure enough, the director's all too happy to chat with me, off the record of course due to confidentiality. The conversation ends with, well, maybe I'll call her about getting that fine paid. This continues for a few stops as I slowly release a stranglehold on prominent community members, effectively ostracizing her. At one stop, someone suggests I head to a local lawyer who's well known for not taking any shit. I head over to his office, and we chat a bit. He agrees to take the case for half price. At first, he thinks I'm a raving lunatic with serious paranoia issues. As time goes on, he collects evidence that paints a very clear picture of what she's doing. He says to me, you know, I think she's making the whole thing up to get a lawsuit. The state's attorney general, yes, really, at first can't understand why he's giving out subpoenas faster than Charlie Sheen gives out STDs, but after seeing the evidence she gets on board too. Only problem is the local DHS does not. See, they want a definitive answer, not a settlement. Why? Cause they want to fire BM. By this point, DW can't stand those assholes, but we have to let it play out. My favorite moment from this period is a phone conference where BM calls in trying to stop my appeal and gets told to shut the fuck up by Attorney General and DW. She leaves the call sobbing as she's kicked off by her own counsel. At last, we determine in settlement that I take a polygraph. If I pass, the state drops everything. If I fail, I drop my appeal. If it's inconclusive, it goes to trial. Now, DW straight up says, I never tell people to take polygraphs. People say one thing and the polygraph shows another. It's almost never good for a case. But you need to take that polygraph. He did this under the full understanding that we could walk at any time if it appeared to go in a direction we didn't like, and I said yes because, quite frankly, I was out of money. So I take the polygraph and pass in the minimum amount of time allotted for the test. Merry fucking Christmas. Denouement. Sweet, sweet revenge. Now, as you may have been noting, I've been taking little actions here and there to prevent this woman from exercising influence. Who boy did they add up. After my polygraph test, the woman was immediately fired. The other DHS employees had throughout been telling my bosses she's a fucking moron, and suddenly they're not allowed to say anything about her. They dropped her like the dirty rotten beer shit that she is. I immediately file a cease and desist order to prevent her from saying one damn word about me. My boss calls me in. Yes, I got my job back, looking very angry. She says, do you have any idea what you've done? Then grinning, tells me BM pulled her kid from our program. A few weeks later, I'm walking through Walmart, and guess who I see? Their newest employee, BM. I take the high road and avoid her while simultaneously taking the low road and asking others who know her what's going on. Turns out she lasted a month or two at Walmart before trying the same damn shit and getting kicked out on her ass. Last I heard, she moved out of state and was later seen trying to file her taxes illegally in our state. Her own lawyer screamed her out of his office. In the end, I don't know how much my own actions actually brought about her downfall. She more or less did it to herself. I just saw her on a cliff and pushed. Silly BM. You thought I'd be an easy mark.